الله أكبر حي على الصلاة الله أكبر الله أكبر حي على الصلاة.
Arise, giving all praise to Allah, Father of the universe, cherisher and sustainer of all the boundless universes. I extend the highest of honors to His Holy Divine Prophet, Noble Drew Ali, the founder, the Moorish Science Temple of America. I extend further honors to his forerunner, the Honorable Marcus Mosiah Garvey, the founder of the Universal Negro Improvement Association, who did indeed warn and stir up the nations. I extend high honors as well to the Moorish flag, the red flag with the green, with the 5-pointed green star in the center. These 5 points represent love, truth, peace, freedom, and justice. These are the 5 highest principles known to man. I extend high honors as well to the American flag, also known as the Stars and Stripes. This flag exists as a constant reminder of the European nations, OU, the Moors, with compound interest. I extend further honors to our honorable Sheik staff, the noble vanguard staff who keep the peace.
Islam.
I give honors to you, the ills and base, for without you, there is no Moorish movement. Islam, Moors.
Islam.
How's everyone on the holy night?
All's treated well.
I'd like to extend further honors to the Salahuddin Ali-El family. Praise Allah. Welcome back. Good to see y'all. All of y'all. Praise Islam. And I extend honors to our visitors. Right? May what comes through tonight, may it touch you in some way to stir you to want to, contribute towards the uplifting and forming humanity and to teach those things necessary to make our people better citizens. Islam. To open up, as is custom, we always open up with the words of Prophet Noble Drew Ali, because without the Prophet Noble Drew Ali, we wouldn't have these lessons. Islam, Moors? All right? I just like to demonstrate the cover of the Holy Quran of the Moorish Science Temple of America, because a lot of times we jump into the text without, demonstrating what was brought to us on the very cover. Right? Islam, Moors?
Islam.
Holy Quran of the Moorish Science Temple of America. Divinely prepared by the noble prophet, Drew Ali, by the guiding of his father, God Allah, the great God of the universe, to redeem man from his sinful and fallen stage of humanity back to the highest plane of life with his father, God Allah. Islam?
Islam.
Know thy, on the inside cover, know thyself and Allah. The genealogy of Jesus. Jesus is in quotation marks. Life and works of Jesus in India, Europe, and Africa, in the land of Egypt. The next picture you have is Prophet Noble Drew Ali. Okay. Under that it says Noble Drew Ali, the prophet and founder of the Moorish Science Temple of America, to redeem the people from their sinful ways. And the word redeem means to purchase back. Redeem or a redeemer is one who's also willing to pay the price. Islam, Moors?
Islam.
The opposite cover from that, I know I said I was just doing the cover, but this is necessary. Abdulaziz ibn Saud, the descendant of Hagar and the head of the holy city of Mecca. This is necessary to elucidate because Sultan Abdulaziz was the one who was the founder of the Uniting of Arabia. He was the one that in his day and time united all the clans and tribes of Arabia into one nation.
Islam.
Right? And right on the opposite side is Prophet Noble Drew Ali. He was the one who was the founder of the Uniting and Moorish Science Temple of America. He was the one that united all our clans and tribes.
Islam.
To recognize our citizenship as one nation. Islam?
Islam.
On the back cover, the Holy Quran of the Moorish Science Temple of America. Know yourself and your Father God Allah, that you may learn to love instead of hate. Every man needs to worship under his own vine and fig tree. Islam, Moors?
Islam.
You can't worship somebody else's God anymore. That error is declared out.
Right.
You see what I'm saying? You can't worship somebody else's image. That's declared out.
Right.
You can't use someone else's name. That error has been declared out.
Right.
Right? So if you think it hasn't been declared out, look at the treatment of those who are using someone else's name. See, if I was to steal your sister, if I was to steal your checkbook, and I was to write out a check in your name, that's called fraud, isn't it? So if I'm to conduct business in someone else's name, namely Smith, Jones, Johnson, Jackson, etc., if I'm to do that, I'm committing fraud on a daily basis, aren't I? Because I'm not honoring my forefathers by doing such, am I?
Right.
If you look in history of someone named George Jackson, you don't know if that's a European or Asiatic.
Right.
Islam.
Because of the condition of slavery. Islam, Moors?
Islam.
Right? And then at the bottom it says, the uniting of Asia. On the inside cover, inside of the back cover, it says, the fallen sons and daughters of the Asiatic nation of North America need to learn to love instead of hate, and to know of their higher self and lower self. This is the uniting of the Holy Quran of Mecca for the teaching and instructing of all Moorish Americans, etc. Islam?
Islam.
So these lessons are designed not to keep you in the book. These lessons are designed to get you within yourself, to unite your higher and lower self. That's the uniting of the Holy Quran of Mecca.
Right.
Islam wars?
Islam.
Right? Let's go to chapter 47. Draw a couple of verses from that. It will appear, we're going to jump around, but it'll tie in, be at the will of Allah. Islam? In chapter 47, verse 10. Starting at instruction 10, verse 10. You hear Islam when you hear Islam? Right. Instruction 10. What your ancient forefathers were, you are today, without doubt or contradiction. There is no one who is able to change man from the descendant nature of his forefathers unless his power extend beyond the great universal creator Allah himself. These holy and divine laws are from Prophet Noble Drew Ali, the founder of the uniting of the Moorish Science Temple of America. Islam Moors? I would pause there. This record was revealed to us in 1927 by the Prophet, right? It was first given to the adepts, the Moorish Science Temple of America, those members of the third heaven. After that, it was released to the general membership for their instruction, teaching and instruction. That statement that he was the founder of the uniting of the Moorish Science Temple of America in 1927 seemingly made no sense, because there was only one prophet, one temple. The temple was united under the prophet. Islam?
Islam.
So this is a prophecy coming in forward in time, telling us that a day will come when the Moors would fall out of conjunction with one another, right? And we will forget our principles, and we will forget what everything the prophet stood for. Islam? All right? So he was reminding us that if we go back to the prophet and keep the prophet out front, he is the founder of that uniting. Islam?
Islam.
All right? Moving forward, 13. These laws are to be strictly preserved by the members of all the temples of the Moorish Science Temple of America, that they will learn to open their meeting and guide it according to the principles of love, truth, peace, freedom, and justice. Islam Moors?
Islam.
Thanks to our noble Sheik, our noble chairman, Sheik Rashid Ibn Halim Bey, you have a demonstration on love, truth, peace, freedom, and justice.
Islam.
Right? These aren't just words that we say. These are principles that we seek to adhere to and live by. Islam Moors?
Islam.
14. Every subordinate temple of the Grand Major Temple is to form under the covenant of love, truth, peace, freedom, and justice, and create their own laws and customs in conjunction with the laws of the Holy Prophet and the Grand Temple. I, the Prophet, Noble Drew Ali, was sent by the great God Allah to warn all Asiatics of America to repent from their sinful ways before that great and lawful day, which is sure to come. Islam Moors, there's a day that's coming. You think things are bad now. There's a day and time that's coming that won't be able to be described in words. You'll see things that just won't make sense at all, right? I mean, like, I don't know about some of you, but when you looked at the news over the past few weeks, you saw Mexican children in cages on the Mexican border. When you see stuff like that, you know, when you immediately see, do you have access to words to describe it? Right? Because what kind of mentality could take a child, an innocent child, rip the child away from the parent? Islam?
Islam.
Put that child in a cage, separated from everything that it knows and loves. Right? You can't be a sentient being. You couldn't be a being that feels. You definitely aren't living according to love, truth, peace, freedom, and justice. Islam?
Islam.
Moving forward. The time has come when every nation must worship under its own vine and fig tree, and every tongue must confess its own. Here's how we fell, Lord, this verse right here. Through sin and disobedience, every nation has suffered slavery due to the fact that they honored not the creed and principles of their forefathers. The word sin is not what the Christian church tells you it was. Sin is adhering to those principles that delude the slavery. Islam?
Islam.
So if you're, you know, what they're calling black on black crime in each other, you know, if you're not supporting one another, Noble Vanguard brother Jabari Bey last night sent me a powerful video. I don't know if it's been spoken on. If it has, bear with me. There was a particular work site somewhere in America, you know, construction site, and the supervisor had problems with two of the Mexican brothers that worked there. So the supervisor fired the two Mexican brothers. The two brothers evidently went back and let their brothers, their kindred, know that they had been fired. All the Mexicans got together and walked off the work site. Shut it down in solidarity as one.
Right.
Islam was?
Islam.
That's nationality. That's divine creed. That's honoring your forefathers. That if you injure one, injure all. There's no, they hurt my brother right here and I don't hurt. Islam?
Right.
And if I think that, I'm clinging to principles that delude to slavery.
Right.
Because slaves were bound to their own welfare. I don't know if I'm going to die. How can I be worried about you? That's the slave.
Mm-hmm.
Islam? But a Muslim doesn't fear death. Y'all all right with that? Y'all okay with that statement?
Islam.
I didn't go too far, did I? Let me say it again. A Muslim doesn't fear death. Because we have the lesson that teaches why Allah lives. Man cannot die.
Right.
Islam? I'll put that again for other sisters, please. Why Allah lives, woman cannot die. Islam? Long as the eternal force that created you exists, you can't die. It might take your form, but man is not the body nor the soul. He's the spirit and the part of Allah. Islam was?
Demonstrate.
Moving forward. Last verse in this section. Instruction 17. That is why the nationality of the Moors was taken away from them in 1774, and the words Negro, black, and colored were given to the Asiatics of America who were of Moorish descent, because they honored not the creed and principles of their mother and father, and strayed after the gods of Europe, of whom they knew nothing. Islam?
Islam.
Surely Allah speaks the truth through his holy divine prophet, noble Israeli. Islam? All right. I'd like to go down to the next chapter, one verse. Actually, two. Verses 4 and 5. The Moorish Science Temple of America is a lawfully chartered and incorporated organization. Any subordinate temple that desires to receive a charter, the Prophet has them to issue to every state throughout the United States, etc. So not just in the United States, all over internationally. That the world may hear and know the truth, that among the descendants of Africa, there is still much wisdom to be learned in these days for the redemption of the sons of men under love, truth, peace, freedom, and justice. Islam, Moors?
Islam.
So again, this is the purpose of the Moorish Science Temple of America. If you have race pride and you think your condition can be better, join the Moorish Science Temple of America. Islam? And again, as we demonstrated last week, we're not particularly concerned with your customs. Okay? That's a misconception, when it comes to the Moorish Science Temple of America and Moorish American Muslims in general. People think that because, we claim our religion. What is our religion?
Islam.
Is that a new or is that an old time religion?
Old time religion.
Islam? So what we're demonstrating is something ancient. This is not a new thought, right? So, like we said last week, if you choose meditation, you choose to sit in the lotus position, set your mudra, chant. You choose to do that, praise Allah. We honor all true and divine prophets. Jesus, Muhammad, Buddha, and Confucius. Buddha demonstrated that degree. And that was just that one Buddha. It's over 600 of them. Islam?
Islam.
If you want to make your salat, if you want to fast Ramadan, praise Allah. Right? Because that's discipline in the form. To hear that small, still voice. Right? If you want to pray your prayers, and then you want to invoke the name of Jesus, because that's where your thought is, because that's how you see Allah, praise Allah. Islam? Because do the Moors love Jesus?
We do.
Yes.
Praise Allah. Right? And what's the Jesus we talking about? Are we talking about a blonde hair, blue eye, buttermilk complexion Jesus?
Emphatically now, sorry.
Emphatically no. Right? We talking about the woolly haired Canaanite blooded Jesus.
Right.
Right? And even if you don't accept Jesus as a flesh and blood human being, right? If you accept the thought of what that message represented, who could argue with the message of love? Right? According to the story, how many churches did Jesus build? How many synagogues did he build? He built one, where's that? He built a synagogue, where's that? Building temples?
None.
No.
0.
His message was reconstructing human beings. Right? That was the temple that he was focused on building. Men came after him and set up churches in his name. Right? Which we'll get into in a second. All right? But that had nothing to do with that. Islam? Let's go in the back of your 101s, your Quran questions for Moorish Americans. For those that don't have them, just relax and listen. Let's see what we're saying here. Act 4, Prophet says, and this is the additional laws. So outside of the divine constitution, my laws also given additional laws. Okay? It says that all members, while making a public speech, must not use any assertion against the American flag or to speak radical against the church or any member of any organized group, because we are to teach love, truth, peace, freedom, and justice. That's those 5 principles again. Islam, right? So we're not to make any assertions against those particular things, right? But the prophet specifically used the terminology of the church. Okay? Can anybody explain to me what the church is? Okay? We give you two definitions. This is from a book. You know, each week I try to introduce new books because we don't like, you know, people that come or anyone who might see this video to think that we're just freestyling this stuff. This is kind of well-researched stuff. This is the Dictionary of Word Origins. The histories of more than 8,000 English language words by John Ato. Okay? Now, before I read this, we must remember, right, that the Prophet Noble Drew Ali taught us. He said that truth will be revealed to you in your native tongue. Right? So every nation around the earth has had a particular truth revealed to them in the language that they speak. Right? And that must be so because that remedy must exist because as the prophet said, through sin and disobedience, every nation has suffered slavery.
Right.
If every nation has suffered slavery, they must have a kinsman redeemer. Right? If you need a reference for that, go to the book of Ruth. That was Boaz, right? The kinsman redeemer, right? To come back, one of their own, to purchase them back and pay the price, and that price even unto death. They had to be faithful even unto death to raise their people, right? But they had to teach them that truth in their particular language. Last week we talked about how, you know, the Arabs, what have you think as Muslims in America, right? That you have to master Arabic in order to be a Muslim, right? And I do this as a challenge, right? Anyone who's demonstrated this and has a thorough knowledge of what this represents, you could go up against the most powerful Arabic scholar about the Quran of Mecca, and y'all will come out with the same if you don't have a better understanding of his book. Did anybody see the video that came out this week of the Ethiopian, I don't know if it's president or prime minister, that rebuked the ruler or the, you know, prince or whatever of the United Arab Emirates? Mm-hmm. Y'all saw that? He said he was talking to his own Ethiopian, you know, citizens. So we should learn Arabic so we can teach Islam back to the Arabs because right. They don't have a right to it.
Right.
Right? They've forgotten that Islam means peace. They're running around the world killing and destroying and so on and so forth. People, the Asiatics, are fed up with what the Arabs have done in the Islamic world. Islam is getting a bad rap because your forefathers were Muslims, whether they practiced Ifa, whether they were Akan, whether they were whatever, they were Muslims and had a thorough respect for the Sultan of Morocco, right? Because he was the one that was keeping the Romans out. Islam? So I want to look up two words in this book. I want to give you definitions. I want to give you the definition of more and the definition here for the word hope. Now, this is an etymological dictionary. Etymology is the science that treats of the root meaning of words, right? So we were taught definitions. You know, we go through 12 years of school, right? And you open a dictionary, you know, open up, it has the word, the phonetics, and it has the definition, and you stop there, right? We seem to skip those words that are down in the brackets at the end, where it says from the GK, Greek, from the AR, Arabic, or from the L period, Latin. Right? And it gives the real meaning of the word. Okay? So in this book, which is an etymological dictionary, the definition of the word more. Now, if you Google the word more, has anyone ever Googled the word more? Anyone? What did they tell you the word more means? Anyone? They'll tell you black or more, right? Right? And they'll say, they tell you, as far back as its origins, they say it goes back to what language? Latin or Greek, right? And they give you the Latin or Greek mardos, which mardos, M-A-U-R-O-S. So if you're taking notes, you can write it down. M-A-U-R-O-S. Mardos means dark-skinned. Okay? As far as they take it back as Greek or Latin, so they'll let you know, some of the detractors of the Moors will have you think that the Moors, our ancient forefathers, allowed a foreign nation to name them, right? Now, what world power you know is going to allow a foreign nation to name them? Does that make sense to you? Doesn't make sense at all, right? Let's move forward. It says more. It says counting the capitalized form, because this is lowercase m-o-o-r. Counting the capitalized form, English has three separate words for more. The oldest, meaning open land, which comes from the Old English, comes from the prehistoric German moraz, M-O-R-A-Z, or moram, M-O-R-A-M, as in more, whose other modern descendants, such as German moor, M-O-O-R, means swamp, suggest the possibility of some connection with the English mere, M-E-R-E, meaning lake. So here you have more, they're tying the word more to land, and they're tying the word more to water, bodies of water, right? Next you have, says, moor means to tie up a boat. Bring the boat to the dock, tie it, it's called mooring the boat. Islam, it says, was probably borrowed from the Middle Low German mooren, so Low German, M-O-R-E-N, a relative of Dutch M-E-R-E-N, moor, right? And it says, and more, capital M-O-O-R, inhabitant of North Africa, listen to how he worded this, comes ultimately from the Greek moros, M-A-U-R-O-S, a word no doubt of North African origin. So if it ultimately came from the Greek, how is it of North African origin? Islam? So they bear witness that the word more started in Northern Africa. Islam? If you trace that lineage back, that's the ancient Canaanites and Moabites, right? In modern time, these people are calling themselves by the term, we've covered this, but I really want this study because you need to know what the prophet was bringing, right? Right? Amazir. Amazir means free men. They speak their own separate and distinct language, which is an Afro-Asiatic tongue, right? Which means it's connected to Arabic, it's connected to Hebrew, it's connected to the Meta-Netta, it's connected to Amharic, right? But it can stand on its own. So much of its root meanings are words or understandings that come out of that culture alone. And their language is called Tamazight, right? And that's the language of those free men, right? These are the ones that were in Northern Africa before the Arabs got there, okay? These are the ones that the Arabs linked up with to invade Spain in 711 AD, okay? Forward. It says, okay, I'm gonna read that again. It comes ultimately from the Greek moros, a word no doubt of North African origin, from which the name of the modern state Mauritania is derived. They left out Morocco, same principle. English relatives include Morello, write that word down and research it, M-O-R-E-L-L-O, the name of a dark-skinned cherry, right? Father, I cannot lie, I chopped down the cherry tree. Islam? Also, which comes via Italian from Latin Morellus, M-O-R-E-L-L-U-S, or Marellus, M-A-U-R-E-L-L-U-S, a derivative of Morris, M-A-U-R-U-S, meaning more, and Morris dance. Write this down, M-O-R-R-I-S-D-A-N-C-E, which is a particular festival and ritual that your forefathers used to do, that the European appropriate, right? So that's more, some demonstrations on the word more. Now let's look up Pope. Pope. This is 404, page 404 in this book. Pope. Etymologically, the Pope is this is their word, the Pope is the daddy of the Roman Catholic Church. I mean, let's stop there. Let's reflect on that, Moses. He's the daddy of the Roman Catholic Church. Moses, who made you?
Allah.
Who is Allah?
Allah, the Father of the universe.
Allah is the Father of the universe. So the prophet is asking you, who made you, right? And you give your nationality as Moorish American, right? Tie yourself back to your familial line, all the way back to Allah, right? That's demonstrating the fact that you're not under the mind state of the European nations, right? But if the European nations are calling the Pope their daddy, right? That means the Pope made them. Islam?
Right.
Pope also made kings. The Pope coronated kings. A king could not be a king in the ancient world unless he was crowned by the Pope. Islam?
Islam.
So the Pope is their daddy. It says the Greek Papas, P-A-P-P-A-S, was a nursery word for father, based no doubt on the first syllable of pater, which is Latin, P-A-T-E-R, like paternal, right? A relative of the English father. In the form of papas, it came to be used by the early Christians for bishop, and its Latin descendant, papa, was applied from the 5th century onwards to the Bishop of Rome. That's the Pope's title, the Bishop of Rome. We're going to get there, sisters. We got to do this work. English acquired, I understand it, English acquired the word in the Anglo-Saxon period, and so it has undergone the normal medieval phonetic changes to become Pope. But the derivatives papacy and papal arrived later and retained the Latin, retained their Latin and papa, and also gave English papa, P-A-P-A, via the French. Okay? Why am I reading that? Because Prophet Noble Drew Ali in chapter 46, the Holy Quran of Mecca, the Holy Quran of the Most High of America, right? Which is kind of the Holy Quran of Mecca, because we do refer to Chicago as Mecca. Praise Allah. Chapter 46, if you go to your Qurans again, chapter 46 entitled The Beginning of Christianity. And why must we understand this? Because our people are still under these principles. They need to understand that. I don't care if you refer to yourself, and this is respect to these specific denominations. I don't care if you refer to yourself as Baptist, Pentecostal, Jehovah's Witness, Seventh-day Adventist, whatever. If you call yourself a Christian, right, you are under the parent company that is called Roman Catholic Church, right? And your particular denomination is a subsidiary of that parent company.
Indeed.
Islam, which will prove that shortly after this. The beginning of Christianity, instruction 1. The foundation of Christianity began in Rome. The Roman nations founded the first church, of whom crucified Jesus of Nazareth for seeking to redeem his people from under the Roman yoke and law, right? Now the word Nazareth means branch, okay? You see in the Piscean text, they talk about the root and seed of David. You hear about the vine and fig tree.
Right.
You hear about Nazareth, meaning branch. So all these tree symbology. Islam, tying you back because you must connect with your roots. It says, Jesus himself was of the true blood of the ancient Canaanites and Moabites and the inhabitants of Africa, seeking to redeem his people in those days from the pressure of the pale-skinned nations of Europe. Rome crucified him according to their law. So did he come to save other groups of people? No, he came to redeem his people.
That's right.
Right? From the Roman yoke. Right? Just like Noble Drew Ali came to redeem his people. Prophet Muhammad came to redeem his people. Right? So if you reject Prophet Noble Drew Ali, then who came for you?
No one.
Who came for you? While you were crying out and screaming out, right? Being murdered in the streets and violated left and right? Who came and redeemed you and brought you your flag back? Brought you your name back, brought you your dignity amongst the nations. If you reject the prophet, you throw all of that out. Islam? Moving forward. Then Europe had peace for a long time until Muhammad I came upon the scene and fulfilled the works of Jesus of Nazareth. Islam, that is the duty of Muslims. But we don't talk about it much. Right? But those who understand it, so that which need, is understood and need not be explained. Right? But those Muslims, your duty and your obligation is to fulfill the works of Jesus upon the planet of the manifest. Islam, now what does that mean? If Jesus' duty was to relieve the people from the Roman yoke, the pressure of the Roman yoke, right? The tyrannical rule, we'll say. If Rome crucified him according to their law, you must indeed continue that work, because that work is just. Islam? Move forward. Instruction 5. The holy teaching of Jesus was to the common people, to redeem them from under the great pressure of the hands of the unjust, that the rulers and the rich would not oppress the poor. Also that the lion and the lamb may lay down together, and neither would be harmed when the morning came. Islam, Morris? All right? Jesus came to the common people, right? Who did Buddha come to? Buddha came to the common people, right? Buddha was born in a high caste, meaning Buddha was wealthy, he was a prince. Islam? Buddha was protected from everything that was harmful in the world. He knew nothing of it. He never saw no one get old, because the way his father had it set up, as soon as someone get to the point where they would grow a gray hair, they put them outside the walled city that they lived in. So young Siddhartha Gautama would never have to see somebody get old. right? He never saw someone die. Because someone looked like they were going to die, they would take him out of the kingdom, so he never seen it, right? But he always saw the gates open and close to the city. He wanted to know, you know, children, don't touch the stove. What they do? Touch the stove, right? Don't smack the dog in the face. What they do? Smack the dog in the face, right? So young Siddhartha one day crept outside of the city, and he saw the pain and the misery of people who didn't have the privilege of being born wealthy, right? Especially under the Brahmin caste system. Anybody heard that?
Islam.
Right now. Brahmin, B-R-A-H-M-A-N, the Brahmin caste, C-A-S-T-E system, right? This is when the Aryans, what they call the Indo-Europeans, came in and invaded India, all right? And put everybody who was dark-skinned on the bottom, everybody who was light on the top. The European didn't start that necessarily, like from Europe, as we know, right? These ones out of the Caucasus Mountains came and invaded India, kind of left a thought. And the Indians perpetuated to this day. That's some of the oldest thoughts you're going to find that Castellanos in India. But when Siddhartha Gautama went out amongst the people, because he was high-born caste, by religion, he was Hindu. Right? Most people forget that, hear Buddha, they think Buddhism, they think everything started. Well, no, he was born a Hindu, right? Which means he spoke the language of the high caste, which was Sanskrit. The Sheik touched on it earlier, right? But the people weren't allowed to deal with Sanskrit because it was considered to be a holy tongue. Right? Because those ones that were on the bottom were called Varnas right now. V-A-R-N-A-S, Varnas. These are the ones called the untouchables. Right? And in the islands they call them Kuli. You understand what I'm saying? But these are the ones that were, they had the worst jobs. Chase rats and stuff like this, and clean the sewers and stuff like this. They spoke a tongue called Pali. Right? And this is what Siddhartha Gautama, when he taught the people and broke rank with the high priesthood, bring the truth to the people, he taught them in their language. Islam? Hence, when the Prophet Noble Drew Ali, who's the Buddha of enlightenment for us, came to teach us, he didn't come teaching you Arabic. He didn't come because you didn't speak Arabic. Right? The test for linguistics is, what language do you think your thoughts in? So you can pick up a second or third language, right? But when you think your thoughts, when you reflection is the business of man. A sense of his state is first duty, right? So you must reflect in order to keep your life together, right? But when you think your thoughts, what language are you thinking your thoughts in? Whatever language that is, that's the language you must be taught in to understand. Islam? All right? And it's the same thing reverse, right? We can't teach the Arabs in English, right? Because y'all know you have to teach the Arabs, right? Eventually that's going to have to happen. So for that, you have to learn Arabic to teach them in their tongue, all right? But the same thing, you won't, it just doesn't carry over. Certain concepts don't carry over either, because pardon the language, and I'll just put, because the babies I won't do it, the N-word, as they say, right? What that means to us doesn't translate over into Arabic. It doesn't come over. Now they have a concept, they have a word zinji, right? But it still doesn't have the overtone that N-word has in America, especially in the South. Islam? Because the concepts don't carry over in different cultures, right? Moving forward, we're still in chapter 46. It says, verse 6, these teachings were not accepted by the rulers, neither by the rich, because they loved the principles of the Ten Commandments. Through the Ten Commandments, the rulers and rich live while the poor suffer and die. And the understanding there is that when you read the Ten Commandments, they all start with thou shalt. Thou shalt not lie. Thou shalt not steal. Thou shalt not covet your neighbor's wife. Right? But if I'm spending my time telling you what you shouldn't do, what am I doing? Islam? Right? So the priests had a whole other code when they got corrupt that they were living by, but they put the people on a whole other standard. They ruled the people by the letter of the law. Islam? While they live by spirit, that doesn't apply to us. Islam? Move forward. 8. The lamb is the poor people, the lion is the rulers and the rich. And through love, truth, peace, freedom, and justice, there's those principles again. All men are one and equal to seek their own destiny and to worship under their own vine and fig tree, after the principles of the divine laws of their forefathers. Holy and divine laws of their forefathers. All nations of the earth in these modern days are seeking peace, but there is but one true and divine way that peace may be obtained in these days, and it is through love, truth, peace, freedom, and justice being taught universally. And here's the part that we miss more: to all nations in all lands. Islam? It's an angel's duty is to take that message around the four corners of the planet. To all nations. right? So you're going to find yourself in a position, right, where you'll be teaching other free nationals who've gotten away from their standard, all right? See, you know, the world is watching you because you are a unique experiment that took place here in America. No group of people have had everything taken away from them, right? Use the example of the pale Jews back during Hitler's time, in respect to their hurt and pain. But they went in the concentration camps knowing they were Jews. And those that were able to escape and flee the concentration camps and move on still knew that they were Jews. And they were able to rebuild. Islam was? All right? You came in, right? 1774, you were Moors. Right? 1779, you were Negroes, blacks, colors. Right? Written into law as something that's not attached to the human family. Right? And that was done by the Roman nations, via the Roman Catholic Church, via their daddy. And let's go to that, right? I have a book here, another book. Yucatan, Before and After the Conquest. Okay? Now, this is not a book written in the current day. These are actually the notes written by a friar named Friar Diego de Landa. For those taking notes, that's Friar, F-R-I-A-R, Diego, D-I-E-G-O, D-E, Landa, capital L-A-N-D-A, right? And if I would go back of this text, on page 159 of this text, what you have to understand, now first of all, the Yucatan, where is the Yucatan? Anybody know? South America.
South America.
Come up a little bit northern. Central. And connected, so, you know, the borders that we have now didn't exist then. So this would encompass Central America even into Mexico, okay? So when the Roman nations, anytime an expedition left to come over and conquering, so you had the conquistadors for Spain, right? They never left unless they had a Catholic priest with them, right? Because the Pope was the head of state. The Catholic priests were the ones that they were his ministers, all right? So when they landed, this is one of the proclamations. Now this is circa the 1500s, right? So they would land in our lands, right? See us looking like we do now, right? And this is the proclamation that they would make, right? It says, I, and it would give the name of the particular friar, servant of the high and mighty king of Castile and Leon, the conquerors of the barbarian peoples, they talking about y'all, little man calling, being their messenger and captain, notify and inform you that God our Lord, one and eternal, created the heaven and the earth, and a man and woman, from whom you and we, all the people who shall come after us. But because of the multitude thus begotten out of them in the past 5,000 more years since the world was created, so they don't trace the world at 6,000 years, right? It was necessary that some should go to one place and others to another and divide into many kingdoms and provinces, since in one alone they cannot sustain themselves. All these people God gave in charge to one who was called Saint Peter. Peter's name means a rock, Buthros, right? That he might be the Lord and superior of all the people of the world, that all should obey him and he should be the head of the entire human lineage. Wherever men might be and live, and under whatever law, sect, or belief, given to him the entire world for his service and jurisdiction. So service is a spiritual, religious word, but jurisdiction is a legal word, right? So even though these are, religious leaders, they demonstrate law. Islam says, and since he commanded him to fix his seat in Rome, the prophet just taught you that, right? Beginnings of Christianity was founded in Rome. As the best place fitted to rule the world, he also promised that he might be and establish his seat in any other part of the world, and judge and govern all nations, Christians, Moors, Jews. That's talking about Israelites. I'm talking about pale Jews at that point. Moors, you couldn't separate Moors and Israelites. You're not going to, right? Can those that are present put their hands up that have Israelite lineage that are here now tonight? You're up higher, you have to be your hands. I'm not going to put you in the oven. Put your hand up. Israelite Islam, and y'all are Moorish American Islam.
Islam.
No doubt or contradiction. Islam, all right? It says, y'all actually, that was funny. That was funny. Y'all missed that. That was a good one. I got the best seat in the house. All right? It says, and judge and govern the nation, Christian, Moors, Jews, Gentiles, and of whatever other sect or belief they might be. Him he named Papa, right? Back to that word again. Father and ruler of all men. Islam? So they want the Pope to be everybody's daddy on earth. Okay? This St. Peter was obeyed and held as Lord, King, and Superior of the universe, Father of the universe, by those who lived at that time, and so it had been with all those who since then have been chosen to pontificate. The word pontificate, the supreme pontiff, is one of the Pope's titles. Pontiff means bridge builder. Islam, from one world to another, bringing the Roman Catholic Church. And the word Catholic means universal. All right? It says, and so it has continued until today, and will continue until the world shall end. So that's the agenda of the European nations. To get everybody under their daddy, which is the Pope. One of the previous pontiffs, whom I have spoken as the Lord of the world, that's a human being, right? Made donation of these islands and mainlands of the ocean to the Catholic kings of Castile. So he donated lands he had never been to, right? Why? Because his children were fighting back and forth. The Spanish and the Portuguese, they were fighting over who was going to conquer what in the West, right? So he gave most of it, he gave all of pretty much the Central and South America to the Spanish, and the Portuguese got Brazil. That seems like a bad deal, right? Until you glance over at that map and realize that Brazil is most of South America. Islam? It says, who were then Don Fernando and Don Isabel of the glorious memory. Don was their title, right? Don is also the title they use in the mob, isn't it? Don Corleone, right? That was the title that the Pope gave those, that he sent to America to conquer in his name. Don, right? And by the way, Corleone means the heart of a lion. Cor from courtesan and leon from lion, right? Of glorious memory, and to their successors, our lords, together with all that is in them, as is contained in certain writings and covering this as is stated, and which you may see if you desire, so that his majesty is king and lord of those islands and mainlands by virtue of the said donation, and since certain islands, being almost all to whom this notice has been given, have received his majesty as such king and lord, and hath obeyed and served, and do serve him as his subjects as is their duty, with goodwill and with no resistance. So with no delay, having been informed of what is stated, did they obey the religious men whom he sent to preach and instruct them in the holy faith. Right? And it does 4 paragraphs, but I'll just do 2 so as to not burden the more. All of their free and accepting will, without reward or any conditions, turned Christians, and so are, as his majesty received them with joy and benignity, and thus commanded that they should be treated the same as his other subjects and vassals, and you are held and obligated to do the same. Finally, as I best can, I beg and require that you understand well this have I told you. Take it to your understanding and deliberation in its proper time, and recognize the church as mistress and superior of the world and universe, and the supreme pontiff called Papa, Daddy, in his name, and in his majesty in his name, as superior and lord, king of the islands and mainlands, by virtue of the said donation, and that you consent that these religious fathers declare and preach this to you. Islam? Now, they presented them with all that, right? Now, what did our forefathers say? They're crazy, you're not doing that, right? Because, our forefathers, so of course, we went to war, right? Many wars. This book covers a lot of those wars, right? These Spanish Inquisitions that took place in Spain, which are basically the same tactics. If you look up research, and if you're not scared to, get investigated, research the CIA torture manual. Look it up. You may get flagged for looking it up, but all's well. They're watching you anyway, so we don't fear. When you research the CIA torture manual, the stuff that they're doing now, in the present day, you'll realize, and then you research, write this name down, Thomas, they spell it T-O-M-A-S, Thomas, D-E, Torquemada, T-O-R-Q-U-E-M-A-D-A, if I can spell it. Thomas de Torquemada, right? Thomas Torquemada was the chief inquisitor general, meaning that he was the chief person in charge of, if you renounce Christianity, like I'm not with it, and they captured you, to put you on the rack. Y'all know what the rack is, right? Right? Where they take you and tie your limbs out, and they have these like things that they can turn like this and stretch your limbs out until your arms and legs pop, right? Or put you on the wheel and stretch your body that way with fire underneath it, right? They have some devices I can't even go into because I respect my women that are present, my sisters that are present. But this is how our people became Christians, right? It wasn't through a conversation. Islam, Sheik Rashid, those booklets right there, could you pass those around? This is some homework for you all. You can take these home with you, some research. This is coming up into the current day because we've gone from the Catholics in the time of Jesus, 2,000 years ago, we've come up to the 1500s. Now let's come up to the time of the Prophet, 1929. Islam, this is a document known as the Lateran Treaty of 1929, right? The Brother Yosef demonstrated that our authority document, the 1010-5909-5905, that was filed in Cook County in Chicago, that made the Moorish Science Temple of America a legal organization, right? The Moorish Science Temple of America was the first organization to file under that, right? The Catholic Church was operating all throughout the world, but they didn't file as a legal organization in the United States until 1929, right? And this was because this Lateran Treaty had taken place in 1929. Now let me tell you this. Anyone ever heard of the Papal States before?
Yes.
Papal States. So that's the word of Papal States. Okay, that's fair. Basically that, like the Prophet demonstrated, the Roman nations, and he put that in plural. So Rome is a city-state back in those days, right? But Rome had influence amongst all European nations. Hence, they were all considered Roman nations. All the ones that viewed the Pope as their daddy or as their sovereign, right, were considered the Papal States, okay? Now, there was a period of time where there was a revolution in what you now know as Italy, because in the 1800s back, there was no such thing as Italy, right? These were all various different, Florence and Venice, and all these were different, what they call principalities, right? But they weren't connected as one state until after 1871, right? They were fighting wars to try to, because, you have the Papal States, which is headquartered in Rome, right? Via the Vatican, which sits inside of Rome. The Vatican, by the way, is the smallest nation on earth, 109 square acres. It's a nation state, right? But they were basically, from that, 109 square acres, coordinating wars, all over the place, and having the Papal States attack the quote-unquote Italian principalities, right? The founder of the Uniting of Italy, right, was a European named Giuseppe Garibaldi. Right? There's a Garibaldi Street somewhere here in Atlanta. They're still naming stuff after this time. Because if it wasn't for him, Italy would still be a bunch of, separate, states. But anyway, he was fighting, and he was conquering all the six states and uniting them, and he was eventually going to attack the Vatican, right? Which had all the Roman nations, like, no, you can't attack, that's inviolable. And when in here, you'll see why they say that. But, so they sat down, and the Pope sent out his ministers, they, sat down to a treaty. And they was able to strike a peace, which united Rome and, the rest of Italy, along with the Vatican, right? Operating as one, even though the Vatican and, Italy are considered two separate things, right? So let's just read through this. I'm not going to read the whole thing, obviously. I'm just going to hit certain highlighted portions highlighted in my section, all right? Starting with the intro. The Lateran Pacts of 1929 contain 3 sections. The Treaty of Conciliation, 27 articles, which established Vatican City as an independent state. So that's what made the Vatican a nation right there. Treaty of Conciliation. Restoring the civil sovereignty of the Pope as a monarch, right? Because Italy wasn't recognizing that. They were trying to run in the Vatican and make the Pope just a regular citizen just like everybody else, right? The Financial Convention annexed to the treaty 3 articles which compensated the Holy See for loss of the Papal States. So they paid the Pope, right, for taking those territories that were formerly his. And the Concordat, which is 45 articles which dealt with the Roman Catholic Church's ecclesiastical relations with the Italian state. That's diplomatic relations, okay? It says an agreement between the Italian Republic and the Holy See amended the Lateran Pacts in 1985. So they updated it in 85. Conciliation Treaty. Now, as a Muslim, you start things off in the name of Allah, the beneficent, the merciful, the most gracious, most merciful, whichever attribute you choose to use. But here it says, in the name of the most holy Trinity. Whereas whereas the Holy See and Italy have recognized the desirability of eliminating every reason for dissension existing between them and arriving at a final settlement of their reciprocal relations referred to as social duties, and you're correct. Reciprocal relations which shall be consistent with justice and with dignity of both high contracting parties, and by which permanently assuring to the Holy See a position of de facto, which means kind of unlawful, and de jure, which means lawful, which shall guarantee absolute independence for the fulfillment of its exalted mission in the world, permits the Holy See to consider as finally and irrevocably settled the Roman question which arose in 1870 by the annexation of Rome to the Kingdom of Italy under the dynasty of the House of Savoy. That Roman question, every nation whose nationality is kind of spurious, like their political status is kind of spurious, their nationality is prefixed with the word question. So at one time when it was the Armenians, it was the Armenian question, right? One time it was the Jewish question, right? But with us, they don't say the Moorish question, they call that the Negro problem, right? It says, and whereas it was obligatory for the purpose of assuring the absolute and visible independence of the Holy See, likewise to guarantee its indisputable sovereignty in international matters, it has been found necessary to create, under special conditions, the Vatican City, recognizing the full ownership, exclusive and absolute dominion and sovereign jurisdiction of the Holy See over that city. So in no uncertain terms, they're stating for the record that the Pope and that territory is sovereign, right? Absolutely independent. His Holiness, the Supreme Pontiff Pius XI, and His Majesty Victor Emmanuel III, King of Italy, have agreed to conclude a treaty appointing for that purpose 2 plenipotentiaries. A plenipotentiary is a person clothed with the authority to negotiate a treaty. It's a plenipotentiary. Being on behalf of His Holiness, His Secretary of State, example, His Most Reverend Eminence, the Lord Cardinal Pietro Gasparri, and on behalf of His Majesty, His Excellent, the Cavalier Benito Mussolini, that was an ally of Hitler's later on, Prime Minister and Head of Government, who having changed their respective full powers, which were found to be in due and proper form, have hereby agreed to the following articles. I'm going to kind of breeze through these for the sake of time. Article 1. Italy recognizes and reaffirms the principles established in the first article of the Italian Constitution dated March 4th, 1848, according to which the Catholic Apostolic Roman religion is the only state religion. Islam? So when you talk about Romans and Italians, that's the only religion that they conceive of is Catholicism, right? Anybody, a Catholic is tying themselves to that, right? Anybody consider themselves a subsidiary, a Christian, is tying themselves to that. Islam? Italy recognizes the sovereignty of the Holy See in international matters as an inherent attribute in conformity with its traditions and requirements of its mission to the world. Just the first section of Article 3. Italy recognizes the full ownership, exclusive dominion, and sovereign authority and jurisdiction of the Holy See over the Vatican as at present constituted, together with all its appurtenances and endowments, thus creating the Vatican City for the special purposes and under the conditions herein after referred to. Jump down to Article 4. The sovereign and exclusive jurisdiction over the Vatican City, which Italy recognizes as appertaining to the Holy See, forbid any intervention therein on the part of the Italian government, or that any authority other than that of the Holy See shall be there acknowledged. So Italy can't get involved at all in the affairs of the Vatican, right? Unless they're welcomed in. Jump down to Article 5, where it says, it is furthermore agreed that in respect of the buildings that there existing and belonging to the religious institutions or bodies, the Holy See shall settle relations with the latter direct the Italian government having no part in such arrangements. Turn the page. Go to page 8. Article 8. Article 8. Considering, and this is talking about Daddy. Okay, it's talking about the Pope. Considering the person of the Supreme Pontiff, the Supreme Bridge Builder, to be sacred and inviolable, Italy declares any attempt against his person or any incitement to commit such attempt to be punishable by the same penalties as all similar attempts and incitements to commit the same against the person of the king. What will happen if you touch the king without permission? You or killed, capital punishment. Islam, or it's considered an act of war, right? So to touch the Pope is equivalent to a cannon, right? All offenses or public insults committed within Italian territory against the person of the Supreme Pontiff, whether by means of speeches, acts, or writings, shall be punished in the same manner as offenses as insults against the person of the king. Go to Article 10, next page. Go to where it says the ecclesiastics, Article 10, right? Third paragraph, the ecclesiastics, whose duty it shall be to participate without the Vatican City, that means outside the Vatican walls, in the execution of the enactments emanating from the Holy See, shall not on that account be subject to any hindrance, investigation, or molestation on the part of Italian authorities. That's the reason why no matter what Catholic priests do, they never go to jail. Islam, it's law, based on a treaty written in 1929, the same time your prophet Noble was on the throne. He was trying to warn you of what was coming. We didn't listen, so now we wonder now in the present day why they have so much power when we were warned in our Quran in 27 before 29. Right? Turn the page. Go over 2 pages to Article 18. The artistic and scientific treasures existing within the Vatican City and the Lateran Palace shall remain open to scholars and visitors, although the Holy See shall be free to regulate the admission of the public thereto. Most of the treasures throughout Europe are located in the Vatican. And not only that, the part they don't mention is the fact that every time the Roman Catholic Church and their papal states went to war with an Asiatic nation, every time they defeated somebody, their entire library was taken to the Vatican. So when they defeated the Persians, they took their entire library. Alexandria, Moors. So they grabbed everything that they could find, while the Moorish adepts in ancient times would grab certain literature and separate it and take it all over the planet before they got it, right? A lot of our literature is in Tibet right now. You know what I'm saying? We talk about the Egyptian Book of the Dead and how there's a Tibetan Book of the Dead that they learned out of our Egyptian Book of the Dead, all right? Turn the page. Article 21. Y'all have heard of the cardinals before, the ones that were all red, the Catholic priests? It's the degree on the cardinal. All cardinals shall enjoy in Italy the honors due to the princes of the blood. Right? So basically like, just like a king's princes, his sons, right? How they would be treated, that's how the cardinals would be treated. It said, those cardinals who may reside in Rome without, meaning outside of, the Vatican City shall, for all purposes, be considered citizens thereof. So as soon as they leave Vatican City, without any particular documentation or anything, they're automatically considered citizens of Italy. Thus, they're protected. The duty of any government is to protect its citizens, right? In the event of the office of the Holy See falling vacant, Italy shall make special arrangements for the free transit and access of the cardinals over Italian territory to the Vatican, and shall provide that their personal liberty is not impeded or limited. So, anybody ever watched when a pope died, and the whole process, they do what they call I want to say convocation, but that's not the word. But anyway, basically, it's when they choose all the cardinals get together and they choose a pope out of them. And what they do is it's a process that they do that while they're deliberating. They're in a closed door session. It's locked. They lock the door, and they have a you could say like a fireplace inside of it, something like that, with a stove pipe that comes out the top. And when if they haven't chosen one yet, they throw some papers in there and the smoke burns black. But when they finally chosen the pope, they throw something in there and the smoke turns white. That lets the people know that a new pope has been chosen. But here it says, those cardinals, when they're trying, because the cardinals are all over the world, the specific ones that that they're going to pull the pope from, when they're traveling to the Vatican, it says that Italy shall make special arrangement for free transit and access of cardinals over Italian territory to the Vatican, and shall provide that their personal liberty is not impeded or limited, so cops can't even stop them. Okay? Going down, 22, almost there, y'all. Article 22, first paragraph. At the request of the Holy See, and by the way, the Holy See is the government of the Catholic Church. The Holy See. Why at the bottom on the back of your Quran questions, when it says see, Heru's revised statutes, that doesn't necessarily mean see, but it's talking about the see. You know what I'm saying? Because that, the Catholic, that was a template that we have as our authority. That was a template that other organized body politics could use. So the Moorish Science template and the Catholic Church used that, right? So it says, at the request of the Holy See or by its delegate who may be appointed in single cases or permanently, Italy shall provide within her. So it's calling Italy a her, nations are female. Without women, there is no nation. Islam, that's why the Prophet uplifted the sister, right? So until we get that in through our heads, that we have to do our best to help whatever y'all need as sisters, right? Whatever form of support, we're bound to do that, because without y'all, there is no nation. Islam, I just had to make that clear. For the punishment of offenses committed within the Vatican City, save and except when the author of the offense shall have taken refuge in the Italian territory, in which event he shall immediately be proceeded against according to the provision of the Italian laws. Moors, according to international law, it is a crime to harbor fugitives. We have to remember that, because we're coming out of Negro, Black, and Colored into government, okay, into governing our own affairs. But you can't mix the two. You can't be like, oh, my man did this, so I'm gonna hide it, right? Everybody has to live their life accordingly. Islam, that's what Sister Lamadi Bey just demonstrated. You know what I'm saying, about that quality of character that we must have, all right? Let's jump down. It says, the Holy See shall hand over to the Italian state all persons who may have taken refuge within the Vatican City when accused of acts committed within the Italian territory, which are considered to be criminal by the law of both states. The same provision shall apply in regard to persons accused of offenses who may have taken refuge within buildings enjoying immunity in accordance with the provisions of Article 15 hereof, save and except if the persons having authority within such buildings prefer to request members of the Italian police force to enter and arrest such persons. All right, next page. Last sentence of that paragraph says, the Vatican City shall therefore invariably and in every event considered as neutral and inviolable territory. So, people know about Switzerland, where there's no wars that's ever taken place on Swiss territory. The same thing as far as the Vatican territory. It's considered neutral territory, right? Go down, Article 26, note and makes use of, you can circle where it says Roman question, right? And make a note to yourself to research that later. That's a whole nother research. And then when you go to the next page, which I'm not gonna go into, where it says the Concordat, that's going into the financial, upliftment of the Vatican that Italy was willing to pay to help make the Vatican a real government in this new era of time. Islam. So that was just to, to plumb the line and go a little further on that beginning of Christianity that the Prophet Noble Drew Ali was talking about. Because we have to see the things that the Prophet talked about take place in real time. Right? This is not something that just took place in 1928. A lot of our Moorish forefathers, may Allah be pleased with the good works that they sold in the flesh, had fallen for the concept of arguing over things that took place in the 20s when Noble Drew Ali was here. Right? Things that took place in the past, ancient beefs and ancient hatreds. But it's not in your benefit to take up somebody else's beef. It's not, right? If it didn't happen to you, you don't pick it up. If it didn't happen to you, you don't quote it. If it didn't happen to you, you don't carry that tale nowhere else. Right? You say, wait, let the dead bury the dead. We're going to keep going in love, truth, peace, freedom, and justice. Islam was. And are there any questions, comments, concerns, or statements, especially from our visitors? Because I know some of this may sound a little new, a little different. Some of our customs may seem a little weird. Why do we say Islam after everything? Did you wonder that? Why are we saying Islam? Islam is, to a Moorish American Muslim, is somewhat of a confirmation of tranquility. Right? This is what we want for one another. We refer to it as the abode of peace, right? I want for you to dwell in the abode of peace where no vain word or sinful discourse is heard, right? So when you come through those doors, or any doors where that flag is hoisted, right? This one too, but especially this one, right? And that charter is posted. You should be able to come in and not feel any offense, right? And if you are offended, there's a chain of command you can take it through to have that offense dealt with, right? But we didn't, as Negroes, Blacks, and Colors, we didn't have that, right? We don't have conflict resolution, so we kill each other, right? I like to, get in between brothers when it comes time to them arguing, because men are not argumentative by nature. Men don't like to argue, and if you put us in a position to argue, the argument is only going to last 2 minutes tops, maybe 45 seconds before somebody gets hurt. The problem with men going at it, men kill each other. Islam, especially in the current day, because you have men that weren't raised by men, right? So they have more emotions than they should, right? So we have to take these lessons and set our house in order, right? And that's what being Moorish American is about. It's not about what you see on the internet, right? It's not what you heard people have said. If you want to know about Noble Drew Ali, come and ask his children. Right? That's our adopted father. But we know ultimately our real father is Allah, who's the father of the universe. Right? Who loved us so much, he gave us a prophet. Right? Because again, Prophet tells, Noble Drew Ali says, yes, I am one of, this is in a letter that he sent around to the temples. If need be, I get the letter and photocopy to give it out to everyone. But it says that, yes, I am one of, I am, a son of Allah, one of his sons. Right? Because there were many sons and daughters that came with a message from Allah. Right? But they get swept under the rug because we do sectarian beef and strife. Right? But unity is the order of the day. And I don't care what you espouse. If you believe murder is wrong, if you believe rape is wrong, if you believe that our children should have their own education, be taught by ones that look like them, right? If you believe that women should be protected and uplifted, right? Then we are the children of one father, provided for by his care, and the breast of one mother has given us son. Islam, that's what being Moorish American is about. And we're looking for generations, We want to hear, like, see how quiet it is now? In a few months, inshallah, I want to hear babies crying in this room. Somebody in here creating without the sound of hammer or axe. So, inshallah, we'll hear some babies crying, and, maybe a year later, there'll be some babies running around, tearing up, and kicking chairs, and that's the future you're looking at. You see? And praise Allah for the little young Moabitess right here. Right? She sat through this whole lesson and didn't fidget, and if you didn't look up, you wouldn't even know she was there. That's an ancient soul. Islam? All right? So Moors, we have a lot of work to do. We have a lot of work to do. Step one of it is loving each other, right? And a Moorish American Muslim is one who can wipe away the sins of his brother or sister. So even if you've received an injury, right, you have to learn how to forgive. You have to, right? Because your form was not designed to hit, right? There's a spiritual reason why we're suffering from the cancers and the high blood pressures and yes, you're eating wrong and whatever. There's spiritual causes too, because the thought is the cause of it all. Islam? So if we just reject and unplug from those negative vibrations that work against your melanin, right? You'd be able to meet sides of yourself you haven't even known. You don't even really know the real you yet. Until you tap in, you got to go inside yourself and find that, right? And when I see the best in you, it reminds me of who I am, right? A person asked one time, I say this and I lower the meeting. A person asked one time, why was the mirror invented? The mirror was invented so you could correct your faults, right? So in other words, you wake up in the morning and you have to look in the mirror before you walk out that door. You know we'd be looking crazy when we get out of bed in the morning, right? But you get in the mirror, oh man, I can do this, I can fix my hair, do whatever you do. Brother got to shave, got to get that beard right. Can't be walking around like you've been in the mountains for years. You're out here in society, brother, trim your beard. Islam? But the point is, you use that, but see, the physical mirror is each other, right? So if I'm not doing right, or I'm not looking right, sister, you supposed to pull my coat. Islam, brother, you better than that. Boy, it's Islam, boy. Brother, we're supposed to honor our forefathers. Brother, why your pants wrinkled? Brother, why you smelling like that, brother? You smell like last week. Islam, there's nothing wrong with constructive criticism. That's the only way you're gonna grow. Islam? And with that, Moors, I will lower the meeting. Islam? Islam? Islam. Board Science Temple of America, Noble Drew Ali founder, home office, Chicago, Illinois, March 11, 1929. A warning from the Prophet to be read in every meeting. I hereby inform all members that they must put an end to all radical and agitating speech while on their jobs, homes, or on the public streets. We advocate peace and not destruction. Stop trying out your cards with the Europeans, for it causes confusion. There has been much confusion caused by members trying out their cards, for your salvation. Failure of obeying my orders will be of severe consequence. We are for love, truth, peace, freedom, and when these principles are violated, justice must then take its course. Any member or group of members that seek to hold malicious feelings towards the temple or the prophet, or to violate the divine covenant of the Moorish movement, will receive their reward from Allah for their unjust deeds. All true Moors must obey the laws laid down to them by the prophet, and if they lose confidence in their prophet, give up your card and button, cease wearing your turban or fez, and return to the state where I, the prophet, found you. For this is a holy and divine movement founded by the prophet, Noble Drew Ali. And if the prophet is not right, the temple is not right. The prophet is sending out divine plea to all true Moorish Americans that they may do their part in protecting their prophet and the temple. This is an everlasting movement founded by the prophet through the will of Allah to redeem his people from their sinful ways. Peace. Noble Drali. Islam. 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 All praise is due to Allah and the highest of honors to his holy divine prophet, Prophet Noble Drali. I want to thank you all for sacrificing time on a Friday night to come and reason together. Islam. Most we've been so out of touch with governing ourselves, we must practice government really daily, right? The prophet enshrines in law, we at least to practice at least twice a week. You know, at least holy day and Sunday school. If you can get your Quran class into, praise Allah, right? But the point is, this is something that has to be part of every part, to the point where if you're ever called or summoned to demonstrate your nationality and your divine creed, you can do so without hesitation. Somebody asks you who your forefathers are, you can name them. You know, what year you want, what date you want, what contribution you want. You can go straight in and do it, right? But if you're not regular, if you're not consistent, you know, with your studies and your application, when called upon to do so, you're going to respond like a Negro. And the nations of the earth will know that even though you do wear fez, turban, holy garb, locks, natural hair, so on and so forth, not picking up, right? It was just convenient, right? But even though you wear all these things, if you're not being the message that you bring, they say you're just playing. And they realize it doesn't matter what you wear. Who are you really? Right? How many people heard something tonight that didn't think that could be useful for the salvation of our people? By show of hands. All right? So that being the case, you know, let's read carefully the doctrines of the Moorish Science Temple of America. Right? Go and take the research that we've given you tonight. Go and research it. Right? And I'm gonna issue a challenge. Okay? Okay, y'all ready? I ain't gonna give you no money now. It's just this is a good faith challenge, right? That whatever you heard tonight, within 7 days, if you can find fault with it, come back and you can speak from right here and demonstrate your portion of understanding of why what you heard last week was not true. Islam? Because I'm that sure of what my prophet brought, right? That we'll open the floor up to let you give your measure of understanding if you find fault with proclaiming a nationality. If you find fault with proclaiming your own divine creed and worshiping under your own vine and fig tree, with being self-defining and self-determining. If you can find fault with any of that, please come back next week and by all means, you lead us. Because I don't care how we get there, long as we get there. Islam? All right? But we'll all know when another prophet has come, right? Because they're able to demonstrate the degree of the prophet, right? And that's the whole thing. So if you have those degrees to lead us and guide us, right, greater than what was already brought, by all means come forward and demonstrate and proclaim it, right? But if you haven't, and you haven't, come and fall in line, all right? And let's stand shoulder to shoulder, and let's go save our people and stop playing. Islam? And with that, we'll close as we began. Everyone please rise, face the east, which is right ahead of you. In the tradition of our Moorish forefathers, we'll close the Moorish American prayer. Please hold your feet at a 45-degree angle, standing on your square with your heels will be touching like this. Raise 5 fingers on your left, 2 fingers on your right, invoking the sacred presence of the 7 Elohim that created everything that ever was, is, or evermore to be. For our visitors, please adopt a position of prayer that is comfortable for you in giving homage to our collective creator. Please repeat after me. Allah,
Allah,
the Father of the universe,
the Father of the universe,
the Father of love,
the Father of love,
truth,
truth,
peace,
peace,
freedom,
freedom,
and justice.
and justice.
Allah is my protector,
Allah is my protector,
my guide,
my guide,
and my salvation.
and my salvation.
By night,
and
by day.
by day.
Through his holy prophet,
Through his holy prophet,
Drew Ali.
Ali.
Amen.
Amen.
Islam, boys.
Islam.
Praise God.
الصلاة الله أكبر الله أكبر حي على الصلاة